think there's nothing that President Trump can do. The Russians have made it unequivocally clear since the start of this war what their goals are. They have three principal goals. Ukraine has to be neutral. It can't be in NATO. It can't have meaningful security guarantees, number one. Number two, Ukraine and the West have to accept the 4 oblasts that Russia has annexed now belong to Russia, plus the Crimea. And then number three, Ukraine has to be disarmed to the point where it doesn't have significant offensive capability against Russia. Those are conditions that the Russians have set out and are determined to stick to. And there's no way Trump can do anything to move them away from those conditions. And the Russians are willing to fight until they create a situation where they get those conditions. And that's where we are today. So President Trump, I think, would like to work out a deal. He'd like to take into account what Russia's demands are and work out a deal. But even if he did work out a deal, he could not get the Europeans and the Ukrainians to agree to that deal. They simply wouldn't accept it. So what Trump is actually doing, Piers, if you watch carefully, is he's distancing himself from this conflict. He's turning over the responsibility for running the conflict to the Europeans. He's making them buy weapons from the United States to give to Ukraine. The United States is not directly giving weapons to the Ukrainians anymore. And furthermore, Trump is doing just enough so that when Ukraine goes under, he cannot be blamed. For example, on the sanctions, think about the secondary sanctions we were talking about a minute ago. Trump said very cleverly that he would agree to the secondary sanctions if the Europeans also agreed to the secondary sanctions. The Europeans, of course, are in no position to accept the secondary sanctions. So President Trump says, I'm in favor of secondary sanctions, but the United States is not going to bear the sole burden of putting those sanctions on Russia. And since the Europeans won't go along, we won't go along. So Trump can't be blamed. He's blaming the Europeans. So Trump is slowly but steadily weaning the United States from the Ukraine conflict because he understands it's a lost cause and he wants to turn it over to the Europeans and the Ukrainians to figure out how to put an end to it.
If Putin wins in Ukraine, though, what is to stop him doing this elsewhere?
Had so much difficulty and paid such an awful price just conquering the eastern 1/5 of Ukraine means that he does not have the capability to conquer all of Ukraine, much less invade countries in Eastern Europe. When you look at the raw capability of the Russian army, there is no way it can conquer all of Ukraine plus territory in Eastern Europe. Furthermore, when you look at what Putin has said over time, he has never once said that he was interested in conquering all of Ukraine, and he never has once said that he was interested in conquering any territory in Eastern Europe. This idea that he is, interested in recreating the Soviet Union and then the Soviet Empire in Eastern Europe is a figment of Westerners' imagination.